Uganda is one of the largest refugee hosting nations in the world, with the country playing host to around 1.5 million refugees, mainly from the Democratic Republic of Congo and South Sudan. One of the core services provided to refugees in Uganda is education, which is handled by the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, together with the Ugandan government and other NGOs in the refugee sector.
We are implementing education projects in a number of them, including Mvepi, Rhino, Kiriandongo, Palorinya, and Obongi.
Apart from the 486,601 refugee learners, 100,000 learners from the host communities also benefit from these education services at primary and secondary level.
Provision of instructional materials, for example, is also a key component of projects. Payment of examination fees, translation and equation of certificates, for example.
However, a shortfall in funding for the United Nations High Commission for Refugees is now putting the provision of this service at risk. Mathew Crentsil points out that the funds that the organization is receiving from donors have dwindled, and yet it relies primarily on donations to carry out its work.
The appeal we launched earlier this year for 47.8 million, we've received a very, very low response. About 16% has been received. And now that we have even had more influxes than anticipated, it makes the gap even more acute.
This comes at a time when more refugees are pouring into the country following renewed fighting in Congo. However, the United Nations High Commission for Refugees will continue providing education at least until the end of the year, as they strive to raise the much-needed funds.
That is why we have relaunched the appeal to cover an estimated number of 150,000 new arrivals for an amount of about 68 million. So this is where we are experiencing the biggest gap.
The threat of education services being at risk in refugee settlements is also a concern for the Ministry of Education, according to Dr. Moriko Kaduchu, the State Minister for Primary Education.
Because we cannot transform the education system in the globe without putting attention in the special needs, that is the special interest groups like the refugees.
The ministry is also intent on improving on education infrastructure within the refugee settlements.
The children are many, infrastructure is not enough, the teachers are not yet adequate, but that's what we are working towards, to increase the number of teachers and the infrastructure, really.
Joyce Nakato, NTV Weekend Edition.